Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 4. Let's watch.
Let's bring it back home. I need love, just love. Bring it back home.
The amount of shots of Seattle that they took with the B-roll is notable. I don't feel like in the other seasons there was as much city skyline porn as there is. I don't know if it's just because I'm noticing or taking note of it or it's my town, but it just seems like it's a lot. And they're really making Seattle look great. Seattle has some not so great angles to look at, and they're not showing any of that stuff. So it also makes me wonder, wait, are more people going to move here and drive the housing prices up even more after this series comes out? Because I don't know, does this season make you want to move here? Because this TV show makes me want to move to Seattle, and I'm already here.
Nobody here alone. Get up and live your life. Light up the sky like laser beams. Don't look back on what you made.
My like 5,000-pound face.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so they're moving in together. Yeah, it looks like maybe they are headed to the altar. I was wondering about that.
Okay, it's a good workout, right?
Okay.
And good on the show for adjusting. I wondered about this sort of thing. Like, why couldn't you do this? Why couldn't you just say, oh, this is not working out. There was that other person. Could we maybe, everyone wins if we end this early and maybe we try it with the other person? And good for them. Because I think that sometimes these shows, in an effort to try to keep the system clean and dogmatic, they will not allow this kind of thing. So maybe they're learning from past mistakes and adjusting, which, you know, is good to see.
I feel like I haven't processed anything. I got engaged to someone that was just engaged to someone else. Yeah, that is kind of maybe weird. I've cried so much. I literally don't know if I have any tears left inside. I think I'm done forever crying about you. It's definitely a challenge for me, for sure. Battling my pride and through this has been hard.
Yeah, it'd be normal. It would feel humiliating, not only just what happened, but also that it's being filmed and that feeling of so I'm the second choice, and what does that mean? And a lot of people will make a decision based on that, which is fine. Some people will be influenced by other people. You're going to take that crap? You really want to be second fiddle the rest of your life? I mean, he chose Irina first. You don't want to be with him. And, there's different ways to be, but it makes sense that she would be struggling with that a little bit. But I would hope that people would look beyond that. There's so many more important things in life than trying to uphold one's pride in situations like this, one's image, even the image of ourselves. Now, there is another side to this coin, which is if, for example, someone is humiliating you and abusing you, and it helps to identify with your self-pride to leave the relationship or assert yourself, then sure. But I feel like in this category, there's a lot of people, in my book, shooting themselves in the foot by avoiding taking a chance. I think for her, she's smart. She's like, well, this doesn't feel great, and I have to swallow my pride, but if we're made for each other, then we're made for each other, and who cares? And how was he supposed to know that I was better for him than Irina? I mean, we didn't get to know each other in person and hang out more. So, he made a choice, and he admits it was wrong. He found out it was wrong, and now he's with me.
Part of me wanted to never, ever, ever talk to you again because it's hurtful.
I get it. I get it.
But I love you a lot, and I've been very forgiving to you. I'm trying to let it go, and I understand.
I think another scenario that we can think about with this is someone breaks up with you, and say it was a pretty good relationship and the breakup was hard, but it wasn't mean. And after the dust settles, you have an urge to hang out with your former partner who dumped you, and you want to be friends, or you just want to meet up and chat or whatever. But because you're too proud, you don't want to do it because you don't want to give them satisfaction, or you don't like the way that it looks, or your friends are ridiculing you for being friends with that jerk face who broke up with you, even though, these things happen sometimes. I'm not saying you're supposed to do it, but I'm just saying that I find a lot of people miss opportunities for relationships, for opportunities that can happen in life.
Feelings sometimes of concern of being second choice. That grosses me out and makes me feel icky.
Right.
In a sense, it's infidelity, right? They had a relationship. It's not cheating, but it emotionally could be that way for her and for him, that he would have to apologize. Say they are together for the next 6 years. In 20 years, when they have a downturn in their relationship temporarily, that could emerge again, where she's just like, this just reminds me of that time you rejected me in the pods and you went with Irina. Remember that all the way back in 2023? Now it's 2022 is when they filmed it. Anyway, that could happen. Similar to infidelity. When you cheat, you can recover, and a part of recovery really lasts a lifetime if you're in that relationship for a lifetime. So he, up to this point, has been pretty good about apologizing. So let's see how he goes.
Being second choice, like that like grosses me out and like makes me feel icky.
Right. But you're clearly not. Right?
I don't think that's clear. I don't think clearly.
Is it really not clear?
I don't think so. I think from like a third party perspective.
Yeah, that's not great what he's saying. In essence, he's right, and in essence, she's right. But she's saying, for a time, I was second to Irina. Now, I'm first in your mind, but for a time, I was second. And so for him to just deny it, similar to infidelity, if the cheater cuts it off and the cheated on partner is just like, it just sucks that you were sacrificing our relationship, that you would be with someone else. And then the former cheater says, well, I'm not cheating anymore, so everything's fine right now. It's missing the point. It's not empathizing with the feelings and isn't validating a very normal feeling that Bliss would have. And it's self-serving. You're trying to deny it. You're trying to just say, let's just act like it never happened, even though it absolutely did happen for her.
I don't think so. I think from like a third party perspective.
I'm asking to you.
Well, I know that I'm better than her.
No, not better.
Not better, but like I know.
But what there's
Well,
the
actually,
pretentiousness.
You know what I'm saying, Zack.
I get it.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, I think you clearly know that there's not a single part of me that would want to be with her.
Mom, there was a whole part of
Right. He keeps saying that, and she knows that. And maybe she could help by saying, look, I'm not talking about now, and it's great. We're together. I don't still think I'm second choice. It just really hurt. It still is with me. That pain is still with me. I thought I would never see you again. And it was really hurtful. I didn't have anyone to go to. You went with Irina, and I was just left on my own. And for a time, it hurt. And that's real. And you did that to me. And I get it. You made a choice, but man, it hurt. And I there's a part of me that hated you. And I just would like some validation. I'd just like you, I don't know. Now, he could apologize and say, I'm so sorry I put you through that. He could apologize without saying that he did something wrong because, morally wrong. Like if you were to push someone down the stairs or something, that's morally wrong. He didn't do anything like that. He just made the best choice with the information that he had available to him. And for us watching the show, we think he's an idiot. But from his perspective, we don't know what he saw or how he vibed. We only see these small snippets. Of course, we saw Irina in the common area behaving literally like a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old person. It's in pretty atrocious ways. So for us, we're like, why would you choose her? But for him, now, she did tell him, Bliss did tell him kind of the maliciousness thing. But I don't know if Bliss had fully conveyed. It'd be hard to without making it seem like Bliss was being Machiavellian or talking shit about someone behind their back or making stuff up for her own benefit. So for Zack, he just made a choice. And Irina does have a good side to her, I think. I think she has a human, real, authentic, attractive part of her to Zack. So anyway, he could apologize and say, I'm so sorry I put you through that. God, I just wish I could go back and change. I thought I was making the right choice. I wasn't. I'll tell you, I didn't have much information to go on. If I knew what I knew now, obviously I would have chosen it. But I am sorry that I put you through that. I did that to you, and it just breaks my heart that you were crying and feeling like I didn't love you because I do love you. That kind of stuff. Let's see what he does.
Know that there's not a single part of me that would want to be with her.
Mom, there was a whole part of you that wanted to marry her.
Before I met her, I had a real love with you. Like, I really loved you.
Why are you saying in past tense?
because I'm talking about the past. I still love you, obviously. But I mean, what I'm saying is like,
Yeah, and so there's a rough patch that they're going to go through. I think maybe this will get real rough. They're playing the ominous music. That's scary. But yeah, so there will be times where Bliss will be triggered by what happened. I mean, it could be even classified as traumatic to her, especially after going back to, I mean, one thing to be dumped and just to be like, but it's another thing to go back to him so soon after, get engaged right away, so much at stake, right? If they were just dating, it'd be different, but they're engaged. And to have that still inside of you, those days, probably a couple weeks where she's crying all the time and angry at him, you can't get rid of that. That's inside of her. She could help him out. She's doing pretty well. He's not doing a great job of, I think he's entering lawyer mode, honestly, where he's trying to make a case. He's trying to spin things in a certain way instead of just being with her. I think that's what she wants. She could help him out a little bit by saying, look, it's great. I know that you love me now. I know you've always loved me. That's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that you really put me through some serious crap, and you did choose her first. You did. And I know that you just made the best choice you could, but it really, really hurt. I bonded with you in the pods, and I don't know, I just figured you'd choose me because I felt a connection with you, and you seemed to really love me. And I don't know what was going on with you and Irina. I wasn't there, but it was, I don't know, it's hard to think about sometimes. I'm not looking for, I don't know what I'm looking for. I guess I'm just looking for some reassurance that you do love me, and I guess I'm looking kind of for an apology, something like that.
but I mean, what I'm saying is like, I had this very strong connection, and I had a strong connection with her as well. And I did love her. I loved who I thought she was.
I'm not saying
and what I've said to you this whole time is that you were the right choice.
Yeah, but
Right?
it still
I
doesn't take away my feeling about
Right. Okay. That's what I thought the conversation was. She's like, yeah. Now she could do better by saying, I get that. And I'm not saying anything about your love for me. I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying I went through something that was really rough, and you did it to me. And I get it. I get why you did it. All is right now. But for that period of time, that was really rough for me. But she is basically saying that right now. So hopefully he hears that.
I'm not saying
what I've said to you this whole time is that you were the right choice.
Yeah, but
Right, like,
it still
I
doesn't
made-
take away my feeling about
But
that.
it doesn't.
though.
Yeah, I get it. But it doesn't make you the second choice. Like, it doesn't, because there's no.
Yeah, he just keeps hammering on that. She's not gonna, her body language is such that she's not hearing that. She's like, but I was the second choice. Scientifically, I was the second choice. Well, maybe I wasn't even the second choice. I wasn't the first choice, and that's real. And I felt feelings about it, and I still do have feelings about it. And there you go. So you saying that I wasn't the second choice is scientifically wrong. Like, why are you spinning it? I was the second choice. I'm not the second choice. But he keeps saying that. He's like, clearly you've always been the first choice. What? There was a time. Yeah. So I think he's panicking, and I don't know if it's lawyer mode or argumentative mode or panic mode, but we all do this. We can use this as a jumping off point. This is 100% of people do this 90% of the time, anecdotally. When you have a partner who is having a feeling about you, or really any kind of feeling, but really particularly a feeling about you that's negative, the knee-jerk reaction, and often what is carried out, is an attempt to take away the emotion. Don't feel that. Don't look at it that way. That feeling is silly. Don't have that feeling. And sometimes that can work, maybe. But typically what it does is it just feels invalidating and confirms what they're worried about. She's worried about him not really loving her. And she might be secondarily worried about, like, is he ever going to listen to me when I'm trying to tell him something? Or is he just going to mansplain to me or try to erase people will call this gaslighting. It's not gaslighting. But you could argue it's kind of in that direction where he's just saying, it never happened, but he's not saying that directly, but he's kind of like, I don't want to hear that, essentially. I don't want to hear you say that. It's like, well, but that did happen. And I have feelings about it. Is that okay with you? And so the first thing you should try to do when say your partner comes to you and says, I feel like you've been really distant from me lately, and I feel like maybe you're not into me as much anymore. I don't know. You seem like you're really spending a lot of time with your friends and at work. And when I see you, you seem kind of distracted. And it just, I don't know, it hurt. It makes me paranoid that you don't love me anymore. And I start to worry if I should pull away from you. Okay. So well, more accusatory, more typical way for someone. So your partner comes to you and says, so that's what's really happening for them. But what they tell you is, so, you know, like an aggravation happens between the two of you, and you're just like, well, lately you've just been acting like you don't even love me anymore. Like you're not even in this relationship. You're not putting any effort into this relationship. Okay. So a typical first reaction to that is, what are you talking about? I put a ton of effort in this. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Like argumentative defensiveness. Instead of taking a beat and going, oh, what's going on? You don't have to agree to listen. You don't have to agree with what they're saying, agree with their take, agree with their conclusion, agree with their perspective. You don't have to agree to validate. You can validate, you can be. So what happened? You feel like what? I feel like you're distant. Really? How does that feel? It feels terrible. Wow, I could see how that feeling terrible. In the back of your mind, you're like, I'm not distant. My mom's in the hospital. I'm working 60 hours a week because you don't work, or I don't know, whatever. I don't know why that scenario pops in my head. And you have reasons. You're just like, I'm not distant from you. I'm trying to survive here, or whatever it is, right? So you can have those thoughts and you can share them later, but at first you validate. So he could do so much better if he could just say, I'm sorry. And yeah, I could see how it would feel that way. It tears me up that you feel that way. And I have an impulse to try to convince you otherwise, but that would be invalidating. So I get it. And I'm so sorry that I did that to you. I wish I could, or I understand how you felt that way. If I were in your shoes, I'd feel the same way. Absolutely. That's all she's looking for.
Choice.
Yeah, but
right? Like,
it still doesn't
it,
take away my feeling about
but
that.
But it doesn't, yeah, I get it, but it doesn't make you the second choice. Like, it doesn't, because there's not, like, you'd be the second choice if I still wanted to be with her, or if there was a part of me that was like, oh.
Yeah, it's real mansplaining. I don't know if it's the lawyer thing or what, but she's, I think, a pretty confident, smart person. So and by her body language, I think she's like, he's not listening to me. He's rambling, and it doesn't make any sense what he's saying.
It doesn't, because there's not, like, you'd be the second choice if I still wanted to be with her, or if there was a part of me that was like, oh man, I wish I could be with her. That would make you a second choice, right? That would be like, okay, you're just settling.
And this is why I wish everyone had a couple therapists, because I could fix this in 30 seconds. They should make a game like that where therapists bid, like name that tune for people old enough to remember that. You make bids and you'd be like, one therapist stands up, I could fix that in 35 seconds. I could fix that in 25 seconds. And then they actually have to fix it in 25 seconds because this is so easy to fix. I'd just be like, Zack, I get it. What are you feeling right now? And he'd be like, well, I don't know. It just feels like she's misinterpreted. Well, what's the emotion? And I would, sometimes it takes me literally months, if not years, to get people, sometimes particularly men, but really everyone, to at least within some time frame be able to identify what's really happening for them emotionally, because a lot of people, they just don't even know. He's clearly having an emotion. I'm pretty sure he's afraid, because if she has that fear, if she has that interpretation that he had her as second, then he's worried that's going to grow in her, this resentment or something, and it's going to impact him, and or she's going to leave him, and that's scary for him. So his shortcut to eliminate that fear is to try to eliminate that interpretation and that feeling in her, which is not going to work. It's just going to cause it to get worse the more he tries to change it. So hopefully he would get to a place where he would say, well, I'm afraid. Now, of course, this would be much longer than 30 seconds probably, but he would say, well, yeah, I guess I'm afraid because she thinks that I had her second, and I might even say, just to kind of cut to the chase, I might even say to Zack, because I have this style of therapy where I don't necessarily beat around the bush. I might say to Zack, well, what she's saying is, for a time, she was second, and that can't be taken away. And now you're together, and the two of you love each other, and you're engaged, everything's going great. But for a time, rather recently, like last week, she was second, and that hurt her, and that's a fact. And so you saying that she's not second is factually not true. I get why you're doing it. You're doing it because you don't want her to have that feeling. But it's okay to disappoint each other. It's not okay to discount each other's disappointment in each other. You will be disappointed in her. She will be disappointed. She's already disappointed in you. That's okay. It doesn't end the relationship. And so just slow down, take a beat, and listen and validate. Can you just hear her? Can you tell her? If you had trouble with that, what I do with people like him is I'll say, like, give me a second here, Bliss. And usually the Blisses will. They'll be like, thank you, Kirk, for going after him. And I'll say to Zack, tell me what she said. Tell me what she was saying. Often the Zacks of the world will say, and this is something you can think about for yourself, the Zacks of the world will literally, without a doubt believe that it was some other thing that she said. Like, he'll say something like, well, what I heard her saying was that she doesn't want to be with me because I chose her second, and I didn't choose her second. And I'll be like, okay, hold on. I might go to Bliss and say, the classic is to go to Bliss and say, is that what you said? And she'd be like, no, but sometimes I need to move things kind of quickly. So I'll just cut to the chase, look to Bliss and say, like, Bliss, that's not what you were saying, right? And Bliss was, that's not what I was saying. I'll be like, yeah, that's not what I heard Bliss saying. What I heard Bliss saying was da 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 da. And so it's interesting, Zack, that's what you heard, because you're scared. And that's good that you're scared. You don't want to lose her. But you want to think about how you're interpreting things. You want to notice your fear and notice you're going to be distorted as you're hearing through a lens of fear. And so let's start over. Take a deep breath. Everything's fine. And Bliss is now going to retell you what she told you earlier, and I want you to try to remain open. And if you feel fear, which is okay, try not to listen through a lens of fear. Try to really hear what she's saying. Because when you can really hear her and when you can reflect that back to her, then we could have this conversation be over. I'm guessing she will say how she feels, and you will say that you get it, or you apologize, or you empathize, or you validate, or whatever. A 2-sentence interaction, or a 2-paragraph. She says a paragraph, you say a short paragraph, end. That's all she's looking for. She's not looking for you to erase the past. So let's start over. Bliss, can you do it again? And then do it again. And then Zack would say, okay, with this new approach, and be like, oh. And then with that, and then say he does this short paragraph back, and it's good enough. It's not usually amazing in the beginning. People have a hard time getting used to this new routine. Chelsea and Marsha would be great at it, obviously, and for the most part. And with the Blisses, I would then say, did he get it right? And let's say that she's like, yeah, basically he got it right for the most part. And so Bliss, how does that feel when he just reflects back or just validates or just understands or apologizes again for making you second? How do you feel now as compared to his previous approach? Typically, the Blisses of the world will say, feels great. That's all I was looking for. He never does that. He always gets in this mode with me, that kind of thing. So I'm just saying, like, how long that take? Depending on his responses, let's say 5 minutes. Everyone should be talking to a couple therapists.
Because there's not, like, you'd be the second choice if I still wanted to be with her, or if there was a part of me that was like, oh man, I wish I could be with her. That would make you a second choice, right? That would be like, okay, you're just settling. No, there's no part of me that wants to be with her. You're my fiance, and I'm planning on marrying you.
I think she shut down. I think she gave up. She might have just made a choice because they're on camera. Maybe she's convinced by his reframing of the situation. I don't know. So, yeah. If they were there in session with me, I would ask Bliss, like, how you feeling? If she's like, well, yeah, I mean, I believe him. And I might ask, so have we received some level of closure about this today? You can certainly talk about it later, but is there anything else you want to say? And maybe Bliss is just like, no, I'm good. And it feels authentic, then okay. But I also wonder if she just sort of shut down because she's just like, I keep beating my head against the wall and there's just really no point in continuing this. All right, that's me yammering at that episode of Love Is Mine. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.